Well, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I apologize for yesterday. Weren't feeling too great, but we are where we are right now. So, what do we know? Well, this is an important update on Bitcoin because we have some very interesting price action that could be unfolding very, very shortly. And this could lead us into the weekend because Bitcoin, again, came down and clipped that 99,200 zone. It's made a nice little reversal from that point. But question on everyone's minds is, how long is this drop to the downside going to last? So what we're going to do is going to break it all down for you, have a look at exactly what levels are important on Bitcoin. Do we have any major news announcements today? Not really, because other than Donald Trump meeting up with the Prime Minister of Hungary, is he going to talk about trade? We don't know. Is he going to mention anything about the US government shutdown? And he's always going to be shifting it to the Democrats. Okay, whatever it's going to be. But this is the longest US government shutdown in history, guys. 36 days, 37 days nearly. I mean, come on, man. Like, who's going to give in kind of story? So let's just break it all down and help you guys understand what we're dealing with in today's market open. So stocks fall as a burst of dip buying fade. So the dip buying story that they're making reference to is the one over here on the NASDAQ. So if we just go over to the hour time frame, and you can see that this little rally to the upside yesterday, not yesterday, day before, this move right here was in principle going to trigger the idea of dip buying in the stock market. But the problem is we've got a hawkish sentiment from the Federal Reserve and lofty valuations are coming into action. But according to Bloomberg, one of the actual guys from a hedge fund has turned around and said the following: sentiment is probably modestly cautious, okay, said Karen, a fund manager at EcoFi. Any reassuring news on employment data in the US, a potential enter shutdown, or tariff news flows could give the markets a new boost. Again, you are at the helm of fundamental analysis, macros. That's what you're up against, okay? And you can see here that it does say that there is a lot of things happening regarding the AI sector. And fundamentally, we are in a good bullish market. Fundamentally. Why? Because there's so many companies declaring earnings and they're doing all right. It's not really signs of things slowing down. You've had just Google that have done really well with their cloud. Amazon have done really well. All right, Microsoft hasn't done really too great, but they're still trading at significant highs. But the thing that we need to take into consideration, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are overall. NASDAQ has just come towards a very important area here at the 25,000 zone, and it's swept the Asian session lows right here. Are we going to see NASDAQ make a recovery? It's all going to be based on the commitment of traders coming into play. Looking at the volatility index, you can see it's currently trading at significant levels to the upside, okay? Taking that information and going over to the dollar dominance. Dollar dominance is starting to roll over. That's what we really need to be seeing. We do have a couple of points of interest right here on the dollar, but it has clipped near towards that 100 mark, and it's now starting to pull back. The problem that we've got, guys, is simple. Investors are starting to use this time in the corrective move in the market to go to safe havens. Euro is starting to climb. Gold fundamentally should be climbing on the idea of a safe haven, but investors aren't going over to the safe haven of gold. What they're doing is they're consolidating inside of gold, waiting for information regarding the Federal Reserve and the interest rates. If they're not giving us a clear-cut view of when the interest rates are going to get cut, then gold's more than likely going to keep on going down in the bigger picture, okay? But you can see they're consolidating gold's price, keeping it within a range, which means investors are actively waiting for that information. So any data on the jobs market suggesting that things are good with the labor market is going to fuel the market to make a little bit of a gain to the upside because it's looking like the economy's okay, but at the same time, it improves the odds of them not cutting the interest rates. So then that means gold's price is going to go lower, okay? We don't have any wars that we need to be too worried about other than the fact that Trump was saying he's going to strike Venezuela and now he's not going to strike Venezuela. Okay, cool. Thanks for that, Trump. But overall, we can assume that investors are pretty much cut in between the idea of, are we going to get the rate cuts or not? And of course, we are waiting on the data. We are now literally waiting on data. I know Powell used to say it in the Federal Reserve meetings, but we are waiting for data because we've had none. The market is moving on data that is not being presented, okay? Now, quickly going over into the bonds market before we go over to cryptocurrency, you can see the bond yields are currently trading positive, 2.2 spot, 0.25% on the actual 2-year yield. Going into the 10-year, 5-year yield itself, that is currently up at 0.27. For 10 years at 0.42% gains for the day at 4.1%. And then the 30 years coming in at 4.7%. If the yields are high, then that's a bit of a bad news for the stock market. However, what you've got to take into consideration is the 10-year bonds themselves aren't really acting as safe havens yet. And there's a lot of discussion regarding the SOFR, secured overnight financing rate, and of course the reverse repo, and all that's discussion where the Fed has now tried to inject liquidity because it's starting to get into a bit of a stress test with banks. So people are like thinking, oh my God, we got a credit crisis. I wouldn't say we got a credit crisis because credit swaps, or should I say credit spreads, are not expanding. They're not. And if there is no credit spread, then it means that there is liquidity. But then you're looking at the reverse repo and it's like, well, there's no liquidity there. Well, don't you know where it's gone? It's in two places: the ETF markets, money markets, and the stock market. You only just need to zoom out and look at where we are. I mean, that's where your liquidity is. It's a $17 trillion rally. That's where the money is. So how does this impact Bitcoin? Well, first things first, we need to understand where we are with Bitcoin. We've had this sweep. This is ultimately the only range Bitcoin must sustain. If Bitcoin cannot sustain 100K, we're going down to 85. That's the next logical spot for Bitcoin, okay? Now, one day of positive price action doesn't mean that that's it now. We need to start seeing a progressive move higher. I usually say that you need to focus on when price gets above the 5 and 13 EMA on the daily time frame. You're looking for buys above the 5 and 13 EMA. If you maintain that logic over here, you'd be buying non-stop DCA on the retraces and the pullbacks because price was trading above the 50 EMA and the 5 and 13 EMA on the daily time frame. Okay? Look at it. You would have been seeing a nice move from the lows of here, from the moment it cut over the 5 and 13 EMA and the 50 EMA, or the first green vector candle above the 50 EMA on the daily, which was this one right here. You would have netted yourself from 88,000 all the way up towards the highs up here of around 126,000. Can't complain about that. That's a decent play. Okay? Right? What we got now is Bitcoin is trading below the 5 and 13 EMA. So we have to sit back. We have to wait. Okay? Because you can go around saying that you bought Bitcoin on the pullback. I bought it at 100K. What if it goes down to 80? You're then going to wait for Bitcoin to get back up to 100. And then you'll be like, oh my God, what if it pulls back from there? So wait until you see the explosive move. The faster they move up during a downwards move, that's selling the rallies. Going into the order flow to understand that logic, you can see that we have got quite a few bids to the downside. All the way down here. 49 million. Don't know if you just saw that. There you go. 49 million bid side at 98,188. There is clear as day commitment appearing in these charts. They are happy to buy lower. Look at the offers. They're not really there. There's not that much of a high concentration. When you look at this and you say to yourself, okay, they buy when prices drop and they sell when prices rise, just by looking at this image here, it would be safe to assume that there is clearly dominance to the downside because there is interest by the resting orders in the book because they want to buy Bitcoin cheaper, okay? And what they'll do is if you treat Bitcoin the way you treat gold, when gold pulls back, it means that we're waiting for a hedge to come into play, right? So they're building the positions. Then when gold starts to rise up, that's when you start hearing about it in the news. And that's when people start buying it. That's when gold's price continues to go higher. But that's only because the participants that have been buying it on the consolidation, they are selling into that rally, okay? We justify that logic when we look at the sentiment chart. The sentiment chart itself tells us where we are with smart money, dumb money, okay? Now, you can see the smart money indicator itself is pointing downwards, all right? And that was from 2 days ago. So we need to actually adjust that. There we are. So if we look at the latest reading, it actually hasn't done it. Hold on. Let me just pull that up for you. Here we go. All right. So from the last reading, it's not coming. Here we go. So from the 6th yesterday, smart money principal is 0.47 and dumb money is 0.61, meaning that fundamentally, when this blue line goes up, assets go down. When it goes down, assets go up. What we're seeing now is assets are down, blue line's going down, and so is retail's mentality. So by that logic, we could assume that we are looking for a bit of a recovery across the board to assume that if smart money's been buying on the drop right here, if they're buying, then the logic says that we're going to be expecting movement higher, okay? Now, it's all down to your priority as to when you decide to start buying and selling Bitcoin. If you're playing the long run, now's not the time to be buying Bitcoin just yet, just so that you can see a significant sweep in the range. Now, if Bitcoin decides to go up from here, okay, and it makes a 3-4 grand move and you think that the bottom is in, then do something about it, all right? You're going to buy here, sell when there is a little bit of a rally, okay? But we don't know where we are with interest rates. We don't know where we are with the US economy. We've still got a US government shutdown, okay? Logic says that once we have all those bits of information aligning with it and the market can relate to it in the sense where we've got every reason to start buying, then okay, start buying your Bitcoin, okay? But given that Bitcoin has got significant areas of interest down here, it would be a good opportunity to pick Bitcoin up from these levels. But if you're going to give yourself a quick flip on Bitcoin where you just want to go spot for a day and see what you can get, then okay. Take advantage of any 3, 4, 5 grand moves in Bitcoin. That means if Bitcoin goes to 105,000, that's only up to this red vector candle recovery. That means we're still below the key moving averages on the daily, okay? Structurally, you can see that they're coming down. They're making a lower high. They're coming down, another lower high, and they're coming down. So lower lows, lower highs would be suggestive that we are in a downwards market in principle, okay? Are we cool with that? For months, we don't know where we are. I think we are simply in a bubble with not so much liquidity left. People panic and no market moves anymore and everything is overvalued. Well, this is the story, you know? This is the situation, all right? What's this? Tino, when reimbursed for buying Circle? Hey, bro, listen, if you're buying Circle and you're struggling, okay, and you're not happy with it, you're not listening to what I'm saying to you. It's a long-term play. You are in a long-term play with Circle, all right? If you're looking, even with USAR as well, they've just had a shit earnings announcement, simple as. But if you're looking for it, look at that. It's gone down. That's a discount for me. That is huge discount. Massive. Absolutely massive. Because if you're not looking at the services they're applying, what's the price action here? There's no price action. You're investing in value on the premise that this is going to be a company that is the main leader or the player in stable coins, okay? You're investing in what it's going to offer. All the partnerships are coming into play, all the platforms that they've joined. You see what I'm saying? If you're buying it just purely off price action, then you shouldn't be buying it at all, okay? You should be buying it on the idea that this is going to be providing a service in the future. You're looking for earnings per share, a dividend to be earned on this company. They're putting things to work. You got to give it time. You know, some companies come to the stock market and they're projected to be losing money for the next 3-4 years, but they still get investors. Why? Because they're looking at the bigger picture, you know? What else have we got? Let's just have a look at where we are with the open interest in everything across the board. Yeah, no real open interest is coming into play right now, guys. I'm not seeing anything here. That's nothing interesting. Looking at the, I don't even want to look at the liquidation delta. The open interest, look, these are gaps in the open interest. There's not that many people actually playing it. There's no real concentrations of open interest other than you've got the open interest up here. But we understand that to be the case when we look at this. We know that that area is where that open interest is. So it makes sense with that one. But I want to be rich now. Oh, slow money is better than no money. That's never mind. Same with Ethereum. Ethereum's got a very important area here at the 800 EMA. It's the first time it's going to be coming to test it since June. So it's going to be a very important range for Ethereum to test. But look, Tom Lee's like, he's currently sat on like 12 billion. What is it? 12 billion Ethereum? Yeah, $12 billion worth of Ethereum. He believes Ethereum is going to be the one. He's obviously got a bigger picture. And I do believe Ethereum is going to come back straight back up. We're going to clear the all-time highs. These are all the imbalances, and we just need to get back into those zones, okay? How long does it decide to take for that? Regardless. Retrace, sweep, consolidate, get ready to reverse. It's the same thing that happens over and over again. You only need to just look at what they did here. Look, they dropped it, dropped, then they based, split the vectors in half. You got the red vectors to the left, and then you got the green vectors to the right. You're trading the idea that that's going to be the case. And what does it all start off with? It starts off with vectors. Green vector candles coming into play right here. Okay, cool. Look left, you've got previous zones that they have been buying Ethereum from. And then it just climbs all the way back up again. All right. Same here. Look, they marked it lower, consolidated, and shifted out. Do you see the consolidation happening in Bitcoin just yet? No, you don't. Look, where's the consolidation? It's not happening. It's on a trajectory to the downside. And if that doesn't sit right with you, then trading is not for you. Investing is not for you. You can't just be like, okay, it has to go up now because I bought it. No. You've got to accept that it could be in the cyclical phase to the downside, meaning you've got this one instance, two instances, three instances, and then you've, of course, got the idea of it making a reversal back up. Happy days. We just need to make sure that we've got all what we need overall in terms of the market, with terms of data. Right now, we're looking for a reason to justify the fundamentals, all right? Looking for a reason to justify fundamentals in the sense where, okay, we've got stellar performances from earnings companies, all right? So why is price coming down? Well, this was before we were getting the stellar earnings, all right? Everything was going up. Now that those have all come out, they're all pulling it back. So that means investors are selling, okay? They're selling into the strength. All right, we've got some buys coming in here now, okay? But look, this is 5th and the 6th. Like we are seeing insiders selling. They're getting rid of stock. That makes sense with the fact that Euro's climbing up. Safe haven's coming into play again because we don't know where we are with everything. And that's the fact. Yeah? Questions? There you go. Started buying again at 99. Anything under 100K still a steal. Happy days. There you go. It's all perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Tino, we are in a bear market. A bear market. Bear market. I mean, it's, if you are in a bull market, right? Look, this, consolidate, up, right? Consolidate, up. That's the trajectory that Bitcoin's going to take. Where's your ETF balance? Let's have a look. Inflows, 797. So they're offloading. All right. But there's still 797,000 in there. Let's look at outflows. Here we go. 12 hours ago. Yeah, lots of Bitcoin has been sold 12 hours ago. So they got rid of it. And that would make sense with price action. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you, Adrian. That's it. I agree with you. Tino, please take a look at FET. Do you think it's got legs to recover and what to make of the blue vectors in the 15-minute time frame? Fetch AI. Ugh. Is a bit of a discount, let's be honest now. It has moved down quite aggressively, but look at the profile of it. It's a very aggressive asset. It moves really fast, okay? When it dumps, it dumps. When it rises, it rises. All right. So it's all down to your commitment. So if you're going to get involved at this, right, at the 27 cents, you're only trading back up. This is your scope. You want to be trading up towards this. So if you can get yourself at least 30 cents profit on every dollar you're putting in, or however many you're buying, take advantage of it right there. Because when you're in a bear market, you're not looking for buys, you're looking for fades, all right? Which is fundamentally a buy, but you're only in it for a short term. So when you see price dropping, you're selling the rallies, okay? Then once you start to see price coming back down again, you're going to wait until you can see that they're going to try and work it up again, get back involved, sell the rallies, okay? They always start with green vectors. Look, blue vector at the lows, green vector at the lows right there, little sell in the rallies. All right, that's what you're really looking to do with Bitcoin. When you're in a bull market, you just buy and you just keep on buying, okay? But if you're in the premise of a bear market, then anytime Bitcoin goes down, you pay attention. When it starts to climb back up, you sell the rallies, okay? That's what you've really got to be doing when you're trading Bitcoin, because I don't think we are in an easing cycle. So money's going to be cheaper in the future, but they're not giving us the time when it's going to be indefinitely cheaper, okay? Once we get the next cut, then happy days, okay? What about now if it recovered the vector you showed on FET? If it recovers it, then take advantage of it. You've seen a big push of a green vector to the upside. Take the trade. Take the trade. Because if you've got a conviction, take it. Don't take it because I'm saying take it. So that you can be like, okay, because Tino said take it, all right, I can come back and blame Tino when it goes wrong. Fuck that. Why are you in the game in the first place? To blame someone else. You're the one pressing the buttons. You got a conviction, take it. Because you're never going to know if your system works if you don't put it to the test. You've got to put it to the exposure because you get feedback when you're in a trade. Before you're in a trade, you'll be like, is Bitcoin going to go up? Is Bitcoin going to go up from here? You're humming and ahhing, yeah? All right, I tell you what, I'll take a trade. If it goes up, it goes up. If it doesn't, I can lose $600, for example. And then I know I'm wrong. Take the trade. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Oh, are you waiting for the market to say, buy? Come on, buy. We promise you, you will not experience any risk. We will give you the money. I'm like, you can't look at it like that, man. You ain't going to get nothing from this market if you don't put yourself in a position to get feedback from it. This is the problem with hindsight, all right? Yes, price came up to this point right here. I mean, look, this is perfect. This is perfect. We do this, okay? Watch. This is how people learn the game. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Bitcoin, when you see this structure, it's going to do this, is then going to retrace, and then all you got to do is you take your entry level at that point right there, and then look at that. It works a treat. It just works every single time. Of course it works every time when you replay it. Of course it does. But how do you know when it's going to do that same thing? Well, is it going to happen here? Number of confluences have to come into play. Then you look at it and say, right, confluence 1, confluence 2, 3, and 4, right? I have 4 confluences that need to occur, all right? Have they all occurred? Well, 1 and 2 have. All right, but where are we? Well, we've been dropping down for quite some time. Okay, cool. Like, we might have some good news. Okay, that might not play, and that might not be something. We're at moving averages. We've just swept a previous area. It's come back into a vector. I mean, I only seen 1 and 2. How do I guarantee that 2 and 3 and 4 are going to come into play, which guarantees that the return's going to come into play for me? Well, it's not. All right, forget it. I'm just going to go and take a trade now, and I'll know if 3 and 4 are going to be worth waiting for. So then you take the trade. Then what happens? It starts to work in your favor. Okay, confluence 1 and 2 seem to be working all the time. Okay, cool. Then what happens? It goes aggressively in your favor. Cool. What do you then do? Moon boy. Don't care. It's done it now. If you don't do anything about it, then you're just going to cost yourself positions all the time and risks, and you're going to lose. All right? Don't be the person where you take a trade, it ends up being profitable, then you hold on to the idea and you like the idea of it being profitable and you want more profit, okay? And then it ends up becoming a loss. Nah, don't do that. You're just going to piss yourself off so many times. Just be very careful with it. I blame Tina for not selling me the hairpiece. My hairline is declining rapidly. Shave it, bro. That's what you need to do. Shave it. All right. Tina, what are the chances Circle goes to 67 to recover the weekly? It goes to 67. It goes to 67. All right. If we're in a downward spiral and the market keeps on correcting and correcting, everything's going to correct. Okay. But price action is completely different to value. Completely. All right. And what the bigger picture is. All right. If I'm getting involved in a company that's setting up partnerships for their service to be used in the future, that for me is earnings per share. All right. So I'm going to get as many shares as I can because I know in the future the benefit is going to be sat in the dividend. Okay. It's a new company. So you've got to give it the chance. All right. Cool. Market makers are profiting in a zero-sum game. Yeah. One man's fun is another's hell. But you do profit. You can profit off the back of them only if you pay yourself. All right. Cool. With that being said, guys, mad love and respect. I'll be tuning into you all on Monday. Please trade safely. Be mindful. Trump's meeting the Prime Minister of Hungary today. He might not say anything about trade. Who knows? But just keep an eye out on the markets today, guys. All right? Take care of yourselves, and I'll tune into you all on Monday. Mad love and respect. Peace.